Hey guys, welcome to Quinian's Budget Crafts. Let's make some race gates. This one here I made with the pack of round dowels and toothpicks. So I think I might try the square dowels and the matchsticks over here just to see what the difference is. So what you need to do is figure out how high you want it. Just for the sake of saving materials, I'm going to go ahead and make these 6 inches because these are foot-long dowels. That way I can just cut them in half and not have to worry about any waste. Figure out how far apart you want them to be, like how wide your structure is. I figured I'd go with about a ½ inch on the inside, so in order to help these stay in place and not move around while I'm putting the stuff down, I'm actually hot gluing them to my mat. Just a little dab on each end is all you really need. And now for the cross braces. You can do a zigzag, you can do a series of X's, or whatever is going to work for you. The zigzag is, the least fiddly. With the X's you'd have to make all kinds of crazy cuts and stuff. I don't feel like doing that. And you could break up the zigzag with the occasional cross piece, but I'm not doing that either. Figure out what spacing you want on those cross pieces. I'm going with every inch. Just figure out what'll work for you and go ahead and mark those so you know where to put them. You can go ahead and put them on long like this if you want to, or go ahead and trim them. And this is wood, so I'm going to go ahead and use that super glue wood glue stuff. It works really, really well for wood stuff. Just put some dots down and go through sticking all your sticks on. And an interesting thing about how this worked out at this particular size is I could also cut those matchsticks just right in half and they work perfectly. But just go through and put all your sticks on like that and let the glue dry. If you did end up making them hanging off the edge like I did on the first one, just go through with some flush cutters and trim off the excess. And just put a little pokey tool underneath there and they'll pop right off your mat. Hot glue doesn't stick to this mat very well, thankfully. And now you go ahead and repeat the process. Just go ahead and glue your ladders down ½ inch apart, or whatever your spacing was. As far as how you do that, we pay attention to the zigzags on there. I liked mine going the same direction all the way around, so when I glued these down next to each other I made sure that they were offset. That way I can continue them going from left to right at an upward angle all the way around the entire thing. Same deal, go ahead and put your glue blobs down and stick all your little cross pieces on. Something else you could do if you don't feel like they're glued on enough is you can put a little dab of glue on each joint there and it'll make a little tiny blob. And then when you're done and it dries into a blob like that, when you go to spray paint it, it'll just look like a weld, so that works out fine. So now for attaching the cross piece on top, you can do it like this, the way I did this big one here. So you got the weird angular deals. You could put it on top of the uprights, you could put the uprights on either side of it. It just depends on what kind of shape you're going for. I'm going to go ahead and do mine like this, with the cross piece in between them so that it's wider than it is tall. Those matchsticks at the very top are in the way, so I'll just go ahead and snap those off. Just like before, put some wood glue on there and stick them together and wait. This builds a whole lot of waiting. But while you wait for that to dry, you can go ahead and prep your other stuff that you're going to use to decorate this with. Got some granny grate here, so I'll just go ahead and draw a G on that. You can use these to make letters or just panels, whatever you want to do. And then cut that out. Some more of that cardboard that we used on the shipping containers. Should look pretty good. Just go ahead and draw your letter on there and cut that out. Just keep doing that with assorted bits of trash. And if this is for gaslands, feel free to use car parts. Or even if it's not for gaslands, just car parts works. Then you can also take those extra bits of trash and just glue them on randomly. So it's like the sheet metal panels you see on stuff. A little bit of crazy glue will do the trick there. You can also peel the paper off of both sides of the cardboard so you have just the corrugations, and that is more convincing as corrugated metal if you're going to be able to see it from both sides. When you're all done, go out and spray paint it. I'm just going to go ahead and spray paint mine bright silver. So I printed up a little thing of like the diamond plate steel with some yellow arrows on it. And then I'm going to glue that to this thing here, which is a bit of sticky cork stuck to a dollar store clipboard. That is for another build, I'll explain that later. But for right now, just something to use as a base between the two parts there. If you're doing anything that resembles tiles, like a road or some kind, you're going to want to make sure that you're sticking this paper to something as close to the same thickness as your tiles. However you base this thing, you can go through with rocks and dirt and sand or whatever, just kind of dress it up, just the same way you'd base anything really. As long as it matches your terrain, that's all you got to do. I ended up adding a couple chunks of SPS to the side to look like broken concrete. So the first thing I'm going to do on the paint job after the silvering is go through with black wash. You don't have to use an airbrush, I just have one and really like applying the black wash that way. You really don't need to be careful with your black wash. This is supposed to be super grungy, so just go nuts. Then while it's still wet from the watered down black wash, I'm going to use some light brown paint and go through blotting everything. Somehow that ends up looking like rust. I don't know why, but it works. Now I've got some barn red, and I'm putting that pretty much wherever I put the brown, just to kind of add more red to the brownish rust. I also tried to add more light here so you could see what was going on. I'm not sure it helped. Once you're happy with your weathering, you can go ahead and paint the letters if you want to paint them. I kind of figured they would be. There's no real color scheme here. Tried to do the G in orange, didn't really show up. Made the A red color, made the T green. A T is made out of a piece of a straw and a piece of the beholder stalk that didn't print quite right. The E over there is wood, so it's supposed to be brown. But the wood does need a little bit of weathering, so I'm going over it with some tan in a few spots to make it look scratched and weathered. And of course, you can always add some Easter eggs, like this little movie poster here. So if you guys know anything about Gaslands, if you've read the official manuals, either the first one or the updated refueled, you'll notice there are a ton of references in there to Mad Max and Death Race the movie and things like that. So putting Easter eggs for that kind of stuff in your builds makes perfect sense. All you need is something relatively flat, your little printout movie poster, some watered down glue, and you can stick it right on. Then to make it look weathered, I just went through and peeled some of the edges, like tore them, and then rolled the top of it down some, so it looks like it's peeling off. And once that glue dries, that'll be rock solid. For some extra weathering on this, because it's just printed on a regular old inkjet printer, if you put the water glue on the front of it, that will make the colors run some, which will give it some more water damage. The more you mess with it right now, the more messed up it'll get, so keep that in mind depending on how weathered you want it to be. So that's how you make a basic race gate. This big one back here, I think I'm going to make that the main start-finish line and actually put the game's logo on it. Probably make it taller as well by setting it on some blocks. And I really want to put some lights on it, but this has gone on long enough, so maybe we'll do that another time. Of course, as always, thank you for watching, everybody. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.